Two brothers, one story. When people think of the biggest names in organized crime, they often think of Pablo Escobar or El Chapo. But in the 1990s, there was another family running one of the busiest borders in the world, the Arellano Félix brothers. At the center of this family were two very different men, Benjamin and Ramón. One was the calm thinker, the one who made the plans. The other was the tough fighter, the one who brought fear to anyone who stood in their way. Together, they built the Tijuana Cartel, an organization that became one of the most feared in Mexico. But was their rise built on power or on fear? Did family loyalty keep them strong, or did it lead to their downfall? And in the end, was it all worth it? This is not a story of glamour. It's a story of ambition, family ties, and how quickly an empire can fall apart. Welcome to the Narco Files. If you enjoy deep dives into hidden stories like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us bring you more untold stories from the shadows. Early life. Benjamin Arellano Félix was born in 1952 in Culiacán, Sinaloa. 12 years later, in 1964, his younger brother Ramón came into the world. They were part of a big family, 10 children in total, where loyalty to family meant everything. Sinaloa was no ordinary place to grow up. Even back then, it was known for its deep connection to smuggling and the drug trade. For many families in the region, the presence of cartels was simply part of daily life. Kids grew up surrounded by two very different worlds, poverty on one side and sudden, flashy wealth on the other. From a young age, Benjamin stood out as intelligent, quiet, and disciplined. He liked to think before he acted. Ramón, on the other hand, was bold, daring, and never afraid of confrontation. These opposite personalities would later become the secret to their power. One brother who thought ahead, and another who acted without hesitation. Inheriting a business. The Tijuana connection. The Arellano brothers had a powerful connection in their family. Their uncle, Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, was one of the most important figures in Mexico's drug world during the 1980s. People called him El Padrino, the Godfather, because he built the system that controlled most of the country's trafficking routes. But in 1989, everything changed. Félix Gallardo was arrested, and his empire was split apart. Different groups rushed to claim pieces of his territory. The Arellano brothers stepped in and took control of the Tijuana corridor, a key route that led straight into the United States. At first, not everyone believed they could hold it. Some thought they were too young, too unproven, or simply not ready to control such valuable ground. But the brothers quickly showed otherwise. With Benjamin's careful planning and Ramón's fearless use of force, they made it clear that Tijuana was theirs. This was the birth of the Tijuana Cartel, also known as the Arellano Félix organization, a name that would soon spread fear on both sides of the border. Benjamin, the planner. Within the family, Benjamin quickly became the planner. He was the one who built alliances, managed the money, and expanded the cartel's reach. While others brought the muscle, he brought the strategy. By the 1990s, his work had paid off. The Tijuana Cartel had grown into one of the biggest in Mexico. Reports at the time suggested that a large share of the cocaine entering the United States was connected to their network. But here's what really protected Benjamin. It wasn't violence, it was corruption. The organization was said to spend huge amounts of money every single week to keep officials, police commanders, and even politicians on their side. With so many people looking the other way, the cartel was able to operate almost freely for years. Still, not everything could be hidden. In 1993, a tragedy shook Mexico. Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo was killed in Guadalajara, and suspicion quickly fell on the Tijuana Cartel. Benjamin tried to distance himself from the event, even reaching out to church leaders, but the damage was done. Suddenly, the cartel was in the spotlight, not just in Mexico, but around the world. Ramón, the enforcer. While Benjamin preferred to move quietly in the shadows, his younger brother Ramón became the face of strength and intimidation. He was tall, physically striking, and carried a reputation that made people nervous just hearing his name. Authorities connected him to several violent attacks, especially against rival families. His actions made headlines, and by 1997, his name was no longer just whispered in Mexico. It was officially on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list in the United States. Ramón's bold personality made him feared, but it also made him a target. Unlike his brother, who used negotiations, deals, and corruption to gain influence, Ramón preferred direct action. He solved problems with force. This sharp contrast between the two brothers was what made their partnership so powerful, and at the same time, so dangerous. Together, one played the brain and the other the muscle. But as history shows, that balance would not last forever. Brains and muscle, how they worked together. The success of the Tijuana Cartel wasn't built overnight. It came from a rare balance between two very different brothers. Benjamin was the mind of the operation. He handled the strategy, organized the business, made deals, and kept the money flowing. He knew how to manage power from behind the scenes. On the other side was Ramón, the muscle. He was the enforcer, the one people feared. His presence alone kept rivals away, and when fear wasn't enough, he made sure no one dared to cross the family. This mix of brains and bullets kept the cartel alive for years. Alone, neither brother may have lasted. But together, they created a system strong enough to control territory, expand networks, and hold back competitors. Still, history teaches us that power built on fear and greed doesn't last forever. But for a time, their partnership made them almost untouchable. The fall of Ramón, but no power lasts forever. On February 10, 2002, Ramón's story came to a sudden and violent end. He was in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, when police stopped him over what seemed like a simple traffic issue. At first, it looked like nothing more than a routine check. But within moments, everything changed. A confrontation broke out, shots were fired, and in the middle of the chaos, Ramón lost his life. For the Tijuana Cartel, this was not just the death of one brother. It was the loss of their strongest shield. Ramón had been the enforcer, the man whose reputation alone kept rivals at a distance. Without him, the cartel's power was shaken to its core. That single moment marked the beginning of the end for an organization that once seemed untouchable. The cracks were showing, and soon, the empire would begin to fall apart. The fall of Benjamin. Just weeks after Ramón's death, the other half of the cartel's leadership was brought down. On March 9, 2002, Mexican soldiers finally captured Ramón Arellano Félix in Puebla after years of searching. In the end, it wasn't his money or his power that betrayed him. It was his family ties. That personal connection gave authorities the final clue they needed. Benjamin spent years in Mexican custody before being handed over to the United States in 2011. There, he faced trial and admitted guilt to racketeering and money laundering. In 2012, a U.S. court sentenced him to 25 years in prison. Today, he remains behind bars, with a release date set for 2032. From once being one of Mexico's most powerful cartel leaders to living inside a cell, his story is a sharp reminder of how quickly power can fade and how no empire lasts forever. The collapse of a family empire. The death of Ramón and the arrest of Benjamin were only the beginning of the downfall. Over the years, the rest of the family's power also collapsed. Francisco Rafael, the eldest brother, was killed in 2013 during his own birthday party. Eduardo, another key figure, was captured in 2008. Francisco Javier, the youngest, was caught in 2006 at sea by U.S. authorities. Eventually, their nephew Luis Fernando Sánchez Arellano, known as El Ingeniero, tried to take control of what was left. But even he didn't last. In 2014, soldiers arrested him while he was casually watching a World Cup soccer match, still wearing a Mexico team jersey. The once powerful Arellano Felix organization, which had controlled one of the most valuable trafficking routes in the world, was reduced to fragments. What remained were only smaller groups, struggling to hold on to a name that once inspired fear. Legacy, what they left behind. The story of the Arellano Félix brothers is really a story of contrast. Benjamin, the quiet mastermind, built his influence through strategy, alliances, and money. Ramón, on the other hand, was the feared enforcer, using intimidation and strength to protect their power. Together, they created a balance that made the Tijuana Cartel one of the most dominant groups of its time. But in the end, their story didn't lead to wealth or happiness. Instead, it brought corruption, violence, and endless conflict. The empire they built eventually collapsed under its own weight, leaving behind prison sentences, broken families, and lost lives. Today, the Tijuana Cartel is only a shadow of what it once was. Yet, the names Benjamin and Ramón Arellano Félix remain in history as a reminder of how ambition and the hunger for power can destroy even the strongest families. The rise and fall of the Arellano Félix brothers remind us of something important. No matter how much power or influence someone has, it never lasts forever. For a time, their empire controlled billions of dollars and stretched across borders. Yet in the end, it all collapsed the same way it has for so many others in the world of organized crime, with prison, death, and loss. And it makes us stop and think, was it really worth it? Can power built on fear ever stand the test of time? Or does it always come crashing down in the end? The story of Benjamin and Ramón isn't just about crime. It's about choices, consequences, and how ambition can destroy even the strongest family bonds. Thank you for watching the Narco Files. If you found this story eye-opening, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss more hidden stories from the shadows of history.